Ever since James Gunn and Peter Safran were installed as co-CEOs of DC Studios at the end of 2022 and announced a reboot of the DCEU, now named the DCEU, we were waiting for the first cinematic entry to hit the screen. Now in July 2025 it has arrived with Superman. Is it all we were hoping for, or does it fall flat? Hi there, it's Micha. Join me for this review if you like to find out. The new Superman reboot thankfully skips over the toddler and teenage years we have seen in many other instances and presents us with Clark Kent, aka Superman, in his early 30s, already working as a reporter for the Daily Planet and in a relationship with Lois Lane. While the whole world loves its hero, billionaire Lex Luthor hates him because Superman is superior to any normal human.
Superman, the most powerful being on planet Earth.
Which is enough for Lex to want the professed alien dead. But to do so without the public hating him for that deed, he first has to turn the people against Superman, which could end up being easier than he thought, because Lex makes a discovery that might just do the trick. I was going into this movie with high hopes for two reasons. First off, James Gunn so far has not disappointed with any of his big budget superhero movies, namely the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and the Suicide Squad. The one with "the" in the title, mind you. And even his two earlier movies, Slither and Super, were great. And if you haven't watched those, you should definitely give them a go. The other reason is that I wanted the movie to be successful because I believe Gunn has a clear vision for the future of the DCU, and if this first entry, well, first cinematic installment after the also highly entertaining animated TV show Creature Commandos hit HBO Max as the first official entry into DCU's Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, earlier this year. Where was I? Oh yes, I wanted this to be successful because if this first cinematic entry wasn't, James Gunn's whole vision for the DCU may be in jeopardy. He may either be quickly forced out completely or being restricted in his plans going forward, mandated to do tweaks he does not approve of.
Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around, I'm doing important stuff.
I never doubted for a second that the movie would be great. I just feared it still might bomb or underperform like the Suicide Squad did theatrically. Which I blame on the movie being released during the pandemic and Warner making it available on their streaming service at the same day. I was sure this movie would hit the sweet spot, and to not keep you in suspense any longer, it totally did. Now let's just hope it also performs well so that my aforementioned fear will not come true. The movie comes with a mix of action, drama, humor and heart we grew to expect from James Gunn, who not only directed but also wrote the screenplay. The film kicks us off with a bit of disposition in form of on-screen text, stating that 300 years ago, metahumans first appeared in public, meaning that in this cinematic universe, humanity is already familiar with superpowered individuals and human-like creatures, which will likely be quite important for the future of the franchise. We also learn that 30 years ago, an infant Kal-El arrived on Earth and was adopted by the Kents, who named him Clark. That he made himself known as Superman 3 years ago, that 3 weeks ago he stopped the invasion of the fictional country Jahanpur by their technologically superior neighbor Boravia, which sparked a global controversy as he interfered with foreign politics.
You seemingly acting as a representative of the United States
representing anybody except for me
around the world.
and doing good.
Then 3 hours ago, a metahuman calling himself the Hammer of Boravia attacked Superman, who 3 minutes ago lost his first fight ever. Which leads us to the scene we know from the trailer, where a wounded Superman is dragged by his dog Krypto to the Fortress of Solitude. In there we meet a bunch of robots who tend to their wounded master. Usually I'm not a big fan of an info dump like that, but fortunately the text was quite short and also kinda funny. And this beginning, including the robots that felt a bit too much this early on, remains the only small issue I could find in this movie. Everything else in this movie worked pretty well for me.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
I like the fact that this movie concentrates on Clark as the main character, truly making this a Superman movie. It didn't feel like the kickoff of a new cinematic universe, only using the character as a means to set up future movies. Looking at you, the Mummy reboot. Don't get me wrong though, there are many characters that were introduced that will set up future stories, but it was done organically and didn't feel forced. There is a team of fellow heroes with whom Superman often works together, which includes Guy Gardner, a member of the Green Lantern Corps, played by Nathan Fillion, sporting the iconic bowl haircut the character has in the comics. Then we have Hawkgirl, played by Isabella Merced, and Mr. Terrific, played by Eddie Gathegi, who has the largest part of the three, and while all of them shone brightly, he was the clear standout. While he was introduced as being mostly analytic and not emotional, he does show a lot of heart in this movie, and he is super cool. Will be interesting to see what the character will do in the future. With 130 minutes runtime, the movie could not give every supporting character enough screen time to provide insights into their backstory. But we learn enough about them to support the movie, and many of them are already slated to reprise their roles in future properties, with Fillion appearing in the TV show Lanterns and in the second season of Peacemaker, where in the latter also Hawkgirl will return, as well as Frank Grillo, who made his live-action debut in Superman after previously voicing Rick Flag Sr. in Creature Commandos. There we will likely learn more about each of them. Regarding the staff of the Daily Planet, only Jimmy Olsen got a little bit of screen time, where we learn that he is quite the ladies' man, having a reluctant affair with Luthor's current girlfriend, Eve Teschmacher. Reluctant because while she is played by real-life supermodel Sarah Sampaio, she seems to be a bit too clingy and thirsty for his taste. Poor boy. Wendell Pierce's Perry White also has a few lines, but what I know about his backstory in this iteration I got from the movie's wiki page. Beck Bennett plays another reporter who is a bit of a comic relief but otherwise has next to nothing to do and has no impact on the story, which is also true for this universe's version of Cat Grant. Maybe their parts were drastically shortened, or we will also see more of them in other shows in the near future. Even Luthor's second in command, the engineer, remained quite a blank page character-wise, even though we see quite a lot of her on screen. For now, they all felt a bit underdeveloped, but as I said, not everyone can have a larger role in a movie like this. That is because the larger roles were played by David Corenswet in the lead as Superman, aka Clark Kent, where he does a fantastic job, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. The bulk of the time goes to Clark, who is here portrayed as just a human with superpowers, meaning that though he is an alien, can fly, is super strong and all that, he still has the same issues and problems we all have.
I get scared, but that is being human. And that's my greatest strength.
Which makes him more likable and more relatable than Henry Cavill's iteration. To no fault of his own, as Cavill also did a great job and was a fantastic Superman. The storylines around him just weren't that great. Even though the movie skips over his childhood, we still get a glimpse into Clark Kent's past, as we see him in his childhood bedroom that is not different from any other normal humans.
I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you.
And we meet his adoptive parents, who thankfully in this universe are both alive. In most other movies and TV shows, either one or both are already dead, which always annoyed me. I especially like the fact that his father is played by Pruitt Taylor Vince, who should be much more well known. I always loved him as an actor, and one of the reasons I just realized while watching this movie is that he very much reminds me of my late father.
Your actions, that's what makes you who you are.
Another actor I like in pretty much everything he does is Anthony Carrigan, who plays Metamorpho in this movie. It is great to see him as a hero character, even though it took me a second to recognize him underneath his heavy makeup. In the beginning I mainly identified him by his voice, but then it became quite clear. Speaking of voices, while I instantly recognized Alan Tudyk's voice as the robot with the designation 4, who later, after being heavily damaged, claims the name Gary for himself, which seems to be opposed to the fact that he previously stated that as a robot he has no feelings whatsoever.
We feed the canine, but he is unruly. And he realizes we are not flesh and blood and couldn't in our heart of hearts care less whether he lives or dies.
Looks like there is an interesting story on the horizon. However, I didn't spot Michael Rooker's and Pom Clementief's voices among the other robots. And Gunn's wife Jennifer Holland also voices one of them. Besides those, there are also many in-person cameos in this movie, but those I won't spoil for you. Anyway, back to the main trio. We learn a lot about Clark, and see him being as defensive and annoyed as everyone else when talked into a corner.
That part was an aside. That was off the record.
You have to say off the record beforehand, not afterward.
Why are you being like this?
He interacts a lot with Lois and the two actors have great on-screen chemistry. But we also see that their relationship has the same issues as everybody else, which again makes this Superman much more relatable.
Buckle up.
Later in the movie, we find ourselves following Lois around a lot and get some nice insights into her character as well. Meanwhile, the Lex Luthor in this iteration may very well be the meanest and most ruthless version of the character we have seen in live action so far. Someone who claims to care about humanity in his quest to get rid of Superman, but is not just shady in that he entertains a whole secret prison in which he locks away mostly innocent people for paying clients, as well as some of his ex-girlfriends. Wow. No, he also is totally fine with people dying if they oppose him.
They chose him, let them die!
And even kills an innocent bystander himself, literally point blank. Nicholas Hoult does a great job here, and you will love to hate him. There is a lot to like in this movie, from the humor that can be quite subtle, like Superman talking with Lois about the fallout of Luthor's plans, while in the background his super friends dominate in a fight with a random creature, so that he doesn't even need to get involved or even look at it. The humor can also be more direct, like in the running gag that Green Lantern Guy Gardner wants to name their team the Justice Gang, which almost everyone seems to hate.
You're rude. What's it called again?
Justice Gang.
That's a working name.
Could very well prove to be permanent, though.
And I say almost everybody, as there is a nice payoff for it close to the end of a movie. There are also some darker moments of fun, as Superman in this movie, again in contrast to Zack Snyder's version, doesn't kill anyone intentionally. Though he can't save everyone, while his partners in crime or crime fighting are not as morally about it as he is. While facing a kaiju, Soupy even tries to capture the giant monster while they go for the kill, and not even aim for the most painless one. A cool but dark payoff comes later in a scene where someone, due to Superman's codex, expects to be spared, to which the hero in charge in that moment just mentions that they are not Superman. Sorry. Ultimately, as the Justice Gang is privately financed by Lord Tech, the company of tech billionaire Maxwell Lord, their different moral approach may create tension in the future. And I'm not at all surprised that they play a role in the second season of Peacemaker, who also has no problem with more permanent solutions when it comes to villains. But as Peacemaker himself also has some villain-like tendencies, like killing Ric Flair, I guess the second season will deal with that. Because Rick Sr. also plays a role in that show. By the way, Peacemaker Season 1 is largely considered to be part of the new DCEU, except for the Justice League cameo at the very end of the season. Blue Beetle is also canon, as well as parts of a Suicide Squad, so we will likely see Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn also return at one point. Fingers crossed. And something I loved from the moment I saw the first teaser is the fact that we finally have Crypto in the franchise. I always wanted to see the dog on screen, and here we are. While he is still a dog and a bit untamed, his scenes are always enjoyable and cute as hell.
You have a dog?
As a last call out, I saw in an interview that James Gunn advised everyone to, if possible, see the movie in 3D and in an IMAX, as the 3D is coming through exceptionally well. As I don't take him for someone to lie about it, I took that advice. Was it worth it? Well, yes and no. There were some great 3D scenes, so that was not a lie, but after a while my brain just got so used to seeing the movie in 3D that it almost doesn't even register anymore. That may be a me problem though, as that always happens to me, and even the superior presentation of an IMAX screen doesn't seem to change that. For you it may totally make a difference, who knows. In any case, the IMAX version always filled the whole height of the screen, so I'm sure I saw more image, assuming that the regular widescreen version in other theaters is cropped and not the other way around. And with that being said, let's get to the rating. This review grew longer than I planned, but since this is my first in a few months, I guess that is fine. Anyway, let's keep the rating part short.
Wrap it up.
Good luck with that.
I really enjoyed the movie, which brought Superman back as a likable and, best of all, kind and caring character. In one scene he even rescues a squirrel from getting squashed, for crying out loud. So he is the paragon of goodness while still being human and emotionally vulnerable, just as he should be. The movie gives his character enough space for us to get to know him, not making this just the kickoff of the rebooted DCEU, while still doing a great job setting it up. Some supporting characters are a bit underdeveloped, but that is not a detractor and will likely be corrected in future DCEU properties. In a nutshell, I laughed, I was at the edge of my seat, I shed a few tears, and I was drawn in by the emotional qualities of the movie. What else can you ask for? I'm rating this movie with 9 out of 10 points, probably the highest rating I handed out for a recent DC movie. Let's just hope it is successful enough to allow James Gunn to bring his DC universe to the screen without having to do any compromises, so that for the first time DC will be a real competition for Marvel. Something we and both franchises can only benefit from. What about you? Was the movie everything you expected, or do you think I overrated it? Have you already seen it? Were you planning to watch it? Or are you undecided? And if so, did my review help you with that decision? Whatever you like to share, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share or subscribe. So much for now, see you next time, and thanks for watching. Namely the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and the Skewer Sky. The film kicks us off with a bit of disposition. And Mr. Terrific played by Eddie Gathegi. So we will likely see Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn also return in one point.